Dive into the world of medicine with the Patient's Guide podcast, where we simplify the science and uncover the research behind medical topics.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Patient's Guide. We're all about making those complex medical topics way easier to digest, right?
Absolutely. Breaking it all down into friendly conversations.
Exactly. And today, we're going to dive into something that might seem niche at first. Motorcycle helmet laws here in the U.S.
Yeah, it might sound a bit specific, but trust me, it touches on things that affect everyone. We're talking public health, individual choices, those costs that pile up from preventable injuries.
That's all connected, and we're basing this on a research article, right?
Right on. It's titled Federally Mandating Motorcycle Helmets in the United States. So we'll unpack all that.
Perfect. Motorcycle crashes are a serious public health issue.
No kidding. The statistics are startling. Motorcyclists are 30 times more likely to die in a crash compared to people in cars.
Wow, 30 times. That's a huge difference in risk.
It is, and it goes way beyond just the individual rider. The economic burden on the healthcare system, massive. We're looking at over $12.8 billion each year because of motorcycle crashes.
So it's not just the immediate aftermath of the crash, it's everything.
Think about emergency care, long-term rehab, even lifelong disability support sometimes. It all adds up. And those costs, they eventually impact all of us taxpayers, insurance premiums, our healthcare resources in general.
It's a ripple effect, really. And that brings us to the heart of the matter today, those motorcycle helmets and how they play into all of this.
They're lifesavers, plain and simple. Studies show that wearing a helmet can drastically reduce the risk of a serious head injury by a whopping 69%.
That's incredibly effective. With numbers that compelling, why is there even a debate about making helmet laws universal?
The U.S. has this kind of patchwork system when it comes to helmet laws. Only 20 states have made helmets mandatory for all motorcyclists. Some states, it's iffy, maybe just younger riders or those with less experience. And then we got states with zero helmet laws at all.
So your level of protection really depends on your zip code.
It's a gamble, for sure. And this whole patchwork situation, it's been a roller coaster ride throughout history. So picture this. It's the 1960s, helmet laws are just starting to gain some real traction. And then comes this pivotal moment, the 1966 Highway Safety Act. This act basically nudged states, encouraged them to adopt helmet laws by offering federal funding for the highway safety program. But, and there's always a but, states could only tap into those funds if they actually implemented and enforced those helmet laws.
So did it work? Did states get on board?
Initially, yeah. By 1975, almost every single state, except for California, had some sort of helmet law in place. But naturally, this being America, there was pushback.
Really? Why would anyone oppose something meant to protect people?
A lot of folks saw these laws as a direct attack on their personal freedom. They felt the government had no business telling them what to wear, especially when it came to riding a motorcycle.
So it became this whole my body, my choice argument applied to helmets.
Exactly. Their main point was all about individual choice, freedom, that classic American ideal. And honestly, it's hard to argue with that on some level.
Right, I can see both sides. So it became this balancing act, personal freedom versus public health.
And a very heated debate at that. And you know what? The lobbyists, they caught wind of this sentiment, this anti-helmet law sentiment, and they used it. They lobbied hard. And in the end, in 1975, they got their way.
They managed to overturn the law completely.
Not entirely. But they did get the Senate to repeal the part of that Highway Safety Act that tied highway funding to enforcing helmet laws.
Yeah, so basically, states could just say, we'll take that highway money, but we're not touching those helmet laws.
Exactly. And you can guess what happened next, right? Motorcycle accidents went up, more injuries, more fatalities. It was a mess. And of course, healthcare costs climbed right alongside those grim statistics.
More accidents, more severe injuries, the system takes a hit.
Exactly. It was a stark reminder that sometimes those safety nets are there for a reason. But the story doesn't end there. The government, they saw what was happening, and they tried to course correct. Late 1980s, they came up with this new act, the National Highway Fatality and Injury Reduction Act of 1989.
Not quite as snappy as the first one, but hey, I get it. So this new act, was it like a do-over? Trying to put those strict helmet rules back in place.
Not exactly a do-over, more like a lighter touch this time around. Instead of yanking all the highway funds, this act just threatened to hold back a tiny sliver from states that didn't enforce helmet use. They passed it in 91, but let's be real, it didn't make much of a dent. The motorcycle lobby, they were fired up, they campaigned hard against it, and guess what?
Let me guess. By 95, that federal penalty for not enforcing helmets, gone.
It's like this constant tug of war, right?
Mm-hmm.
Individual liberties versus public health and safety.
A tale as old as time. On one hand, you've got those who believe in a federal mandate, arguing it would lead to more helmets, fewer deaths. But then there's the other side, those who see any kind of mandate as government overreach.
And you see it play out in places like Arkansas and Texas. Soon as those federal changes came, they were among the first to ditch those universal helmet laws. And sadly, what followed? Motorcycle fatalities in those states went up.
Yeah, it really puts a human face on those statistics. It's real people, real families impacted by these choices.
And that's what makes this research so compelling. They're really pushing for that federal mandate for motorcycle helmets. Their argument is a nationwide standard, not this patchwork of laws, is the only way to really move the needle, get more helmets on the road, and save lives.
Makes sense. But like we were saying, there are always two sides to every story. What are the counter-arguments to this? Why are people so opposed to a federal mandate?
It always seems to circle back to that individual liberty argument. They feel strongly that the government should butt out of personal choices, even when it's about safety.
It's that classic debate, right? We see it with seatbelts, with gun control, with so many things. Where do you even draw the line between personal freedom and what's best for everyone?
Exactly. It's a tough one. The real challenge, and I think this research highlights this, is finding that middle ground. How do we respect individual choices while still prioritizing public health and safety? And it goes beyond just legislation. People need to understand the real risks of riding without a helmet, the potential life-altering consequences. When people are informed, they can make better choices for themselves and everyone else on the road.
And that's what we're all about here at the Patient's Guide.
Right.
Giving you the information you need to make those informed decisions about your health.
It's about empowering people to make choices that protect themselves and those around them.
Well said. A huge thank you for breaking down this complex issue with us today. And to our listeners, we want to hear from you. Where do you stand on this? Head over to our social media pages and let's keep this conversation going. Until next time, stay informed, stay curious, and stay healthy.
If you enjoyed this episode of The Patient's Guide, you can find more below.